only on KTN Home.
Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
20 minutes to 9, our conversation with Gathoniwa Mushomba begins now. She's a certified health education and promotion expert. What's that?
The person who is trained to disseminate information around and educating the masses around health issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The certification was done at AMREF.
Right. So we have issues with the rollout of SHA. And you've talked about the Catholic bishops yesterday were talking about it. They said, the health facilities that are faith-based are among the very many facilities that are in the private hands and that also provide the services to Kenyans. And it's a big issue of what's happening there. The health ministry came back and responded and said, in terms of, rolling out SHA, we acknowledge that there have been issues in HIF and legacy debt, and the government is working towards clearing legacy debt. In Parliament the day before yesterday, Parliament actually took a moment to discuss this SHA rollout and saying we are hearing so many complaints from the ground on what's happening. And the government has been saying, we are facing teething problems, but it's just, we are correcting as we go, and we're actually tightening the loose nuts and here and there. What's the situation in Githunguri and elsewhere, from what you hear?
First of all, I want to thank the great people of Githunguri for allowing me to be their representative. And by the power of their votes, I wrote a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly on the 11th of November and asked the Speaker of the National Assembly to adjourn the business of the House so that we can debate the big issue of health, access to health. And fortunately, when I wrote my letter, there's another member who had also written the same letter the previous week, Honorable Dr. Lilian Gogo, MP for Rangwe. And the House Business Committee ruled that they are going to honor the request by the two members. And the adjournment request was granted. And therefore, we adjourned the business of the House. And unfortunately, we adjourned at 5:45 p.m. And that was not our request. Our request was to adjourn the House immediately after the composition. That notwithstanding, we debated. And every other member who spoke about or debated around the issue of SHA and SHIF complained that their voters are not accessing services, health services at the various county and referral hospitals. As a member for Githunguri, I will confidently say that is true because I got a lot of distress calls during recess, when we were on recess. And that is why I wrote the letter to ask for the adjournment of business of the House. And I took another step. I visited about 5 hospitals where my voters referred me to go and witness what's going on. And out of the hospitals that I visited, one is a mission hospital, which confirmed to me that the reason why they had slow uptake of SHA services was because they are owed over 233 million by NHIF. And there was no commitment letter to pay that money because they were saying if she, before she was activated, if there was a letter that was written to us committing that we are migrating and we assure you that we are migrating with your loans and we are going to pay, or the debts we are going to pay. So they were telling us every week they are getting about 600,000 out of the 233 million. And NHIF system was releasing to them 600,000. So they told me, do the maths.
Money owed or for services rendered?
Money owed.
Wow, okay.
And the services rendered are still accumulating.
Yeah.
So, and of course, when one hospital opens up right now, every other patient is going to that hospital. So they were saying they have received 4 times the number of clients they used to receive when they opened up services for SHA, even without any commitment to pay. So I can foresee even a bigger problem than we have today.
Let me ask, how did this debt accumulate to that level for this particular hospital?
I may not be able to speak at length because, of course, I don't have access to a lot of information because that's the information I gathered. But that only tells you that when we used to hear, especially between 2022 September July to about 2022 December, a whole lot of about 21 billion shillings was lost from NHIF. So I think that is the money that got lost, and somehow it was not remitted to the hospitals. So my question, and that is why I woke up very early to come to Spice FM, I am asking, why did we have to rush to implement SHA, knowing very well that we had a lot of debts that are not honored by NHIF? Why couldn't we first of all sort out our own issues in NHIF, prepare people for migration? I think even when you are insolvency of a company, you declare to your creditors and your debtors, isn't it? Yeah, you give notice.
You do.
So that your creditors and your debtors can arrange on how they are going to sort out their issues with you. But you just don't crumble something. So anyway, we debated very seriously in the National Assembly. And to my disappointment, the only thing that we could do as a house that is looked upon by every other Kenyan for solutions when there are crises like this is to ask for a kamukunji.
Sorry.
I don't understand.
Kamukunji of whom?
Of MPs.
What's a kamukunji?
Is
A
that of
kamukunji
Parliament?
is a small meeting outside the standing orders of Parliament to go and have a conversation and invite visitors who can come and clarify issues, not officially. That's why it's called kamukunji.
It's informal.
Without Hansard, without the
record.
Off the record, thank you. So the best we could have done as members of Parliament, after I have written this letter and another member has written this letter, indicating the interest generated by members of public, is to call a kamukunji and call that minister in charge of health, call that PS in charge of health, call that person in charge of SHA, call that person in charge of SHE to come and talk to MPs. And I'm sure you saw my ex-post, and I said, calling a kamukunji for MPs does not sort out the problem.
But that doesn't
because
say...
even these MPs don't rely on this SHE and SHA.
Sorry,
they have their
Mheshimiwa.
medical covers.
But by the time Parliament is asking, because it is Parliament who has requested this kamukunji, it is not somebody else. Mheshimiwa. By the time Parliament is requesting that somebody from outside, SHA, SHE, whatever, comes to explain what is going on, does that not denote that in the very beginning, when it was being passed, then there was not an understanding of what was actually being passed?
Definitely, that's the indication that even the members who voted yes didn't know what they were voting. I mean, how do you pass a law and then along the way you realize it's not working and you're the one who passed the law, and then you go public saying, let us have a kamukunji so that we can know what is going on?
You know June 25th? Remember June 25th?
Yes.
What happened?
That happened.
The Kenyans who came to Parliament and said, you guys go. We can parliament ourselves. I think these are some of the reasons why. Because Parliament last year passed 4 laws.
Yeah, in a hurry.
4 laws on health. And they were hurried through Parliament. One of those laws was the Social Health Authority Act, which repeals the NHIF Act and says SHA shall take over assets and liabilities of NHIF. And then we shall have this transition. Throughout that period of transition, which gave NHIF 1 year to continue living after the law became assented to, throughout that period, Parliament, which has a standing departmental committee on health, what are those things that you say and do that they do, doing their things with their twiddling their thumbs?
Twiddling their thumbs, and we can even say just picking their noses.
Those ones. It clearly appears that that's what was happening, because how many questions did this committee and the entire Parliament ask to the Ministry of Health? We have a sunset date for NHIF. Do we have a register of all the assets of NHIF? Do we have a register of all the liabilities of NHIF? What happens to these liabilities? Was that matter ever addressed in Parliament? I don't remember.
I can tell you. The other day I said I'm one of those members of Parliament that are very embarrassed to be associated with the 13th Parliament. And I keep saying that. Because some of the things that we are doing in that Parliament are so, let me use the word hazardous, to the livelihoods of people, of Kenyan people. And we look like we no longer care. You know why I say that? Because I don't understand how you make a law and you give a choir of affirmation, and then you are the same person who is complaining that this is not functional or it is not working. And then all you can do after even the uproar from members of public is to call a kamukunji. Does my mother in the village care what I do in that kamukunji? Do they even publish what we discuss in those kamukunjis? We were bringing this issue on the floor of the House so that we can have a resolution that is going to enable that patient who is yet to access dialysis. Now that we did a kamukunji, and those guys came and did all what they said, and who cared? Who cared to take the resolutions and make sure they are implemented?
The kamukunji has happened?
Yeah, it did. It did. Do you know that it happened yesterday?
Oh, no.
It did.
And then?
The kamukunji happened.
Who came?
The minister sent somebody there. The PS was there, coming to tell us what's going on. I refused to attend, by the way.
And then
because I found like it was a waste of time.
What's the output of that kamukunji?
I don't even know, because it's not published today in today's paper. You did not talk about it in your news.
No.
So it's a way of killing my request, my prayer.
But
I wrote a very lengthy letter. By the way, it was a very lengthy letter. Since I know you love reading, it was a very lengthy letter, citing the story, the journey from the day we brought about the Chief and the SHA Act, citing what has been happening and going down to what is happening in the corridors of most hospitals, citing even the 19th July 2024 High Court declaration, and asking the Speaker, now that this has happened, from Parliament to State House to signing the Act, to implementation of the Act, to the courts, and back to the public, we need as Parliament to give a resolution, a way forward. We need to jumpstart the process because there is a problem. The only solution we could have we gave was, let us do a kamukunji.
Let me ask. Okay, so at the point,
and people keep bashing members of Parliament at, this Parliament doesn't function.
Well, it doesn't.
People don't work. Some of us work, and that is why we wake up in the morning to come to Spice FM, for people to know what is going on, for people to understand what frustrations we are going on. Eric,
let me ask a question.
Please ask.
When Parliament now resolved, let's hold a kamukunji.
Yeah.
What was the mandate of the kamukunji? I think it was given to the chair of the health committee.
Yes.
Dr. Pukose.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Convene a kamukunji.
No, kamukunji is never convened by a member. It was convened by the Speaker.
Okay.
Yeah. So
the kamukunji then is happening. What was expected to be the result of that? Were they supposed to come and report back to the House? Was
Normally, kamukunji is held to deal with matters that involve or touches on members of Parliament's welfare. Some knowledge of some information that members need to know or to understand without the formality of proceedings of the House. You understand? So like, for example, when members feel like their food is not well done, we do a kamukunji to go and discuss, because we can't discuss that on the platform of Parliament. You understand? On record. So when you take an official subject like health stalemate and you make it so simplified to a welfare of members, you understand? You reduce an issue that is so formal to informal.
What I'm asking,
to me, I feel like we are not fair to the people of Kenya.
What I'm asking is, when the proposal to hold a kamukunji was tabled, and members voted and said, yes, let's do a kamukunji, what was their thinking? Was the thinking, and give me a moment here, was the thinking, let's have an informal session, let's invite all these people who are responsible, and let's also tell the health committee that all of us are actually going to have and help you do this particular job, and then the health committee, you shall come with recommendations as requested by Gadoni here. We want action. So this kamukunji, having galvanized and gathered a lot of information from everybody, will then come with
no. The outcome of kamukunji, Eric,
what was
is
this particular
to enable
kamukunji?
Members to understand SHIF and SHA's responsibility and functionalities, so that when they go on microphone in funerals and in churches,
they can educate people.
They can tell their voters what's going on. That was the essence of the kamukunji. But my intention of writing the letter to adjourn the House was not basically to educate MPs, because they're the ones who passed the law. My intention was for the government of Kenya through Ministry of Health to understand that the representative of the people still feel there's much to be done, so that we can actually come in and say, can we halt this whole migration first? Can we revert maybe to the previous program of NHIF until we sort out these mission hospitals, until we do what we are calling population means evaluation, until the system, this data system, shared data system that keeps on falling is stable, until the government of Kenya is able to fund SHA adequately. Until we have done all the preparations, we can now fully migrate. That was my intention.
Right. Makes sense.
But it was reduced to a members' welfare discussion.
Let's get to understand, Chief, so we can go and educate
our people.
So they can
Since when did a member of parliament become the educator?
The question I want to ask Mheshimiwa is this. I have actually read.
You've read my letter?
Yes, I have.
Is it heavy?
It goes into very good details. There are details that I particularly liked. When you quoted Articles 26, 28, and 43, we're talking about the right to life, the right to human dignity, and the right to health care. Okay. Sometimes when things are mentioned, one doesn't understand on what you are anchoring your particular discussion. And nothing surpasses this. And the crafters of the Constitution understood this well when they wrote these things and when they gave the citizens of this country these rights. And what we're discussing here is the absolute and sheer abrogation of these rights, even as we watch. It's unfolding before our very eyes. Let me ask this question, Mheshimiwa. When it comes to decisions that are made, decisions that relate to the welfare and the lives of the citizens of this country, when you talk among yourselves, do you have a sense that your colleagues understand what they are doing? Do they understand the import of the decisions they are making and the impact it has on the people they represent?
I don't think most members of parliament do understand, because sometimes I find ourselves so blind in lawmaking that we make laws that are so difficult to implement at the detriment of our people's livelihood. For example, I've seen a lot of uproar, members of public complaining about the selling of national assets, for example, the selling of JKIA and many other assets that have been enlisted under the privatization program. But we are the people who made the law, the Privatization Act. And we made it in a record of less than 2 weeks. The same members of parliament who voted yes for that law, I have seen them on newspapers, I have seen them on television, complaining that our public assets are being sold. So what does that tell you? It tells you that some members just walk in the house, don't read anything, and just asks.
Some don't walk in the house.
What are we voting for? And they just vote. How do you pass a law and take away the power of parliament on oversighting what is going to be sold from national as a national asset? You take away the power of parliament to ask questions. Who is buying? Why are we selling? What value are we selling? Who is the person actually buying the asset? Because we took all that power. The only power we left parliament with is the power of ratification.
So parliament took away powers.
And that power of ratification has a condition, that if a ratification program is brought to parliament and it is not passed in a record of 2 weeks, cabinet is free to implement without even parliamentary ratification.
So essentially you're saying that parliament emasculated itself.
Oh yeah.
In broad daylight.
We have taken away the power of parliament and given it
To the
on a silver platter to the executive.
Sounds like big problems, Mheshimiwa.
A very big problem. I was in the previous parliament, the 12th parliament. I have been very active on parliamentary matters even before I was elected, but I've never seen a parliament like that in the parliament. I'm sorry. I am very sorry, but that's the truth. So look at this situation now. She and Sha and Da is still. Why are you laughing?
Well, because the country...
It's still a matrix of problems that we are yet to unravel.
You're saying that the...
What do you want to do next in 30 seconds?
What I want to do next is what I've done this morning. I have done my bit as a member of parliament. I am defeated to that level I've explained. I want members of public now to do what they think is right for them.
All right.
Because parliament has failed them.
Honorable Mushamba, MP Githunguri constituency, certified health education and promotion expert, chair of the Committee on Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee.
You are right.
Chair of the Coffee Caucus.
Yes.
And you're losing, which one are you losing soon?
You
wait and see. Let's see.
I hope not to lose any, but even if I lose, I don't lose my power of being a member of parliament for Githunguri.
Very good. 9 a.m. news time.